unless you're flying FPV drones through active volcanoes or making first contact with cannibalistic tribes in the Amazon, landscape photography is a mostly sedate hobby, normally no more stressful than watering the houseplants on a Sunday afternoon. It's not a complaint, that's what we like about it. But occasionally, fate delivers something more dynamic than a misty lake, a lonely tree, or a sunlight-dappled forest. Occasionally, fate grabs you by the balls or, lady balls, gives them a good hard yank and drops the opportunity of a lifetime in your lap. Thunderstruck and wide-eyed, you have one chance to get it right. When you rise to the challenge or fluff it and spend the next decade or two despondent, reliving the failure in your head every time you pick up a camera. When fate intervenes and your peaceful photo session suddenly feels like defusing a bomb with chopsticks while wearing boxing gloves, here is how not to shit yourself. I'm pretty sure we've all got a few of those shots in the portfolio, the random occurrences that changed an ordinary photo session into something much more stressful. Perhaps that once-in-a-lifetime moment has already happened for you. And when it did happen, how do you think you dealt with the situation? Did you rise to the challenge, or did you kick yourself afterwards and think of all those shots you should have taken and the different approaches you could have used? No judgment here. I've fucked up a few golden opportunities in the past, that much is certain. We are, let's not forget it, animals. We have slightly bigger brains than our cousins in the wild, but the way we behave, the manner in which we react to extraordinary situations, those are among the most basic responses of all. It's helpful to know what's going to happen to you in moments like this so that you can prepare yourself. Forewarned is forearmed. When you encounter a potential once-in-a-lifetime shock, your body will go into a classic fight or flight response. Adrenaline and cortisol will get released into your bloodstream. Your heart rate and blood pressure will increase. Your breathing will become more rapid and your pupils will dilate. I think we can all agree, can we not, that shaking like a shitting dog is not conducive to taking a well-composed and beautifully sharp photograph. That's just the physical stuff though. There's also what's going on in your brain. Your working memory will decrease. You may get tunnel vision and your decision-making abilities will be compromised. The end result of this is that you'll find it hard to hold the camera steady. My problem's focusing. You're more likely to rush things, make poor decisions, and tunnel vision will mean you don't notice all the opportunities available to you. The strength of these involuntary reactions will vary, of course, depending on how once in a lifetime your shot really is, but here are some suggestions on dealing with it. Firstly, take a shot. Any shot. Doesn't matter what the settings or composition are like, just point your camera at the thing and press the shutter button. Fuck it. Use your iPhone if you have to. Just take that first shot. I call this getting one in the can. It's a safety shot, a little confidence booster. And it gives you the knowledge that whatever else happens, you have proof that the thing happened and that you were there to photograph it. Now that you have your proof of purchase, slow the fuck down. When your body goes into this adrenalized fight or flight state, you stop breathing. So now that you have the safety shot, take a deep breath, literally, and slowly exhale it. I know this sounds like a load of woo, but it's actually a technique taught in the military to help members of the armed forces deal with stressful situations. Now that we're a bit calmer, and assuming there's time, and assuming you haven't already, consider putting that camera on the tripod. There are several reasons for this. 1, it rules out camera shake. 2, means you can more easily change your camera settings. 3, you're less likely to drop your camera or fumble a lens in your haste. And 4, it adds to a more thoughtful composition. It's useful to work through a checklist of settings now. I don't mean literally like pull out a bloody clipboard or anything. I just mean quickly but methodically working your way through your main settings. Use your camera as a guide. Look at each dial in turn and consider how it should be set to best take a good shot. Mode, ISO, aperture, exposure compensation, camera stabilization. Just work your way across the camera. Most important, of course, is aperture and exposure. What's the best setting for each? This will depend entirely on what the thing is you're photographing. Your best friends in situations like this are the semi-automatic aperture and exposure priority modes. And the one you pick will depend entirely on the nature of the scene you're photographing. For instance, if you're shooting something fast moving, then obviously you want a very fast exposure to freeze the action. In exposure priority mode, you can set the camera to something like 1/500th or 1/1000th of a second, and it will take care of the aperture for you. One less thing to worry about. Ditto, if you're shooting something that is not fast moving, then you can choose aperture priority mode. Select the aperture that makes the most sense, wide open for a smaller depth of field and a nice blurred background, or a small aperture to try and get everything sharp from front to back. As landscape photographers, we're always told to shoot in the lowest possible ISO to avoid noise, but this is so much less of an issue these days, and I recommend using a hybrid auto ISO where you set minimum and maximum ISO levels. Most recent cameras have excellent noise levels at high ISOs, and even if you do have to settle for a noisier image, so what? Bit of grain or color noise doesn't really matter, and anyway, denoising in post-processing is getting damn close to perfect these days. So you've got the camera settings dialed in and you've taken some good quality shots. Now's the time to think about composition and lens swap outs. You're probably shooting at eye level height, so give that a big consideration. Will moving the camera further above the ground help? Would it benefit from being lower down? That old tunnel vision probably means you haven't even thought about vertical versus horizontal camera orientation. So consider switching out to portrait mode if that framing suits your subject better. Don't be afraid to have a look at your shots on the old LCD screen. It's a great way of reassuring yourself that you've done it right before trying anything else. If you have other lenses with you, then now's a good time to consider swapping them out. Other focal lengths might not suit the subject, of course, so equally, don't beat yourself up if you stick with the same lens throughout. By now, hopefully you've got some nicely composed and well exposed shots of your scene, and if there's still time, you can now move on to the trickier stuff. I always leave this more complicated stuff to the end once I know I've got a few keepers on the SD card, because the pressure is off and I can concentrate on those more elaborate procedures. Personally speaking, I'll go 1 safety shot, 2 well exposed but boring composition, 3 well exposed and more interesting composition, and 4 the fancy stuff. For instance, now would be a great time to shoot a pano. Turn off the old autofocus, pick a suitable focus point and shoot a series of exposures with plenty of overlap. When you've done a horizontal pano, consider going vertical if it suits the scene. So you've done it. You've worked through a heap of meaningful compositions. You've tried different lenses. You've even got a pano in the bag. Time to piss off and have a well-deserved beer. Yeah? If you haven't got any pressing commitments, I say settle in. Personally speaking, I'm a big advocate of sticking around, because sometimes the best is yet to come. Just because you've got some good shots on the SD card don't mean Mother Nature hasn't got a few surprises in store for you. Do you really want to be driving home as something even more epic unfolds? Take 5 minutes, scroll on your phone and see if anyone else is posting on the old socials. Have a swig of water, bide your time. Be patient. Then, and only then, when you're sure it's all done and dusted, give yourself a pat on the back and pack away. You're back home with an SD card full of photographic dynamite and you can't wait to show off your work. If you shoot for yourself and don't typically share your shots, then enjoy the post-processing. But if you do share because you're trying to build a social media presence, you're just a competitive bastard who likes to cross the line before everyone else, then you should remember the words of my second form woodwork teacher who, on seeing the god-awful joinery on my mahogany pencil box, said, "More haste, less speed, Andy." Or to put it another way, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. I know it's tempting to hurry through your post-processing because you want to get your shots out there while it's fresh in everyone's minds, but just pause for a beat. After you've imported your photos, go through and pick out your keepers. Flag the shots you think look best. That's your shortlist. Spend a bit of time doing your post-processing properly, because if what you photographed is genuinely unique, then it's possible your shot will go viral and possibly even get picked up by the media. And do you really want to be sitting there looking at your photo on the 9 o'clock news and thinking, fuck, wish I hadn't gone so hard on the saturation? Once a shot's out in the world, that's it, for better or worse. So bet on yourself, work quickly but thoroughly, and only share when you know it's right. And that's my once-in-a-lifetime survival guide for photographers. The next time the gods of photography decide to test your mettle, remember, get that safety shot. Take a breath, work through it methodically, and use your camera as your guide. Because while panic might be the natural response, it's never made anyone's photos better. And besides, shitting yourself is terrible for resale value on camera gear. And that will do us, guys. Have you had a few of those moments in your photographic history? Did you do yourself proud or bollocks it up? It's all a learning experience, no judgment here. Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video or got value from it, or preferably both, then please give it a like and consider subscribing for more photo, video and drone related content from me. Till the next time, guys. Ta-ta.